Day. 5/29/2023. Happy Memorial Day. 10 a.m. on the East Coast. East Coast of Florida. Might be good afternoon where you're from. Might be good evening. Might be good morning. Early morning. On the West Coast of the United States, we're going to talk Bryan Kohberger. Pulling up court documents, and I want to share some new information and some information about the prosecutor, Bill Thompson. Get a cup of coffee. Come on in. Worked out this morning, felt good, watered my yard, my plants, cleaned my pool, meditated a little bit, and we still got a lot to go. Today's just getting started for me. So I wanted to jump on board a little bit, talk a little bit with you guys, share another case with you guys out of Latah County that was years back. The question I have is, will or will not, will the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, the Latah County prosecutor, seek the DP against Bryan Kohberger? Will he or will he not? That is the question. I think he has now like 53 days to decide. He has all the way up to July 22nd, 2023 to decide. I think in the next week, maybe if not already, he's already been meeting individually with the victims' families to discuss his intentions and to get their input, hearing them out, soliciting his pitch to these families, the victims' families, and then he will ultimately have to make a decision. He'll have to make the decision. Will he or will he not seek the DP against Bryan Kohberger? Now, I just posted a video earlier this morning about the Wells brothers. This was a case pretty bad. A little bit wrong on the way I said it. I said in the video, I want to clarify something in that video I just shared. The two brothers that murdered the individual, they were not University of Idaho football players. They murdered a University of Idaho football player. But Bill Thompson reduced their charges. They were charged with first-degree murder, and he reduced their charges. Now, every case is different. People plea. Everyone's evidence is different. But you had two guys in Moscow that brutally did something to a 19-year-old, and the prosecutor had every opportunity to charge these individuals, and he did, with first-degree murder. And he dropped the case down to second degree, and these guys ultimately got sentenced to 20 years. 20 years. The prosecution wanted 30 years. Their defense wanted 12. Judge went in between and they got 20 years. But there's another case. There's another case I found in the mid-90s. Now, this Bill Thompson prosecuted this case. And I'm going to show you I'm going to show you an article, because the victim's family in this case were outraged at the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, because he reduced the charges for this guy, right? And this is what I'm fearing hopefully doesn't happen when it comes to the victims in this Moscow case. You know, the victims' families, some are pushing for capital punishment. It's obvious now. Shannon Gray has came out on the record and said that's, you know, the Gonzalez family is seeking the DP. Most likely the Mogan family is too. But here's another case in the 90s. It's called Wenkai Lee. Look it up. Wenkai Lee. Wenkai Lee. We're going to go over this case. I'm going to show you some articles and show you the thoughts, because this case happened in the 90s, and this guy, he actually killed a University of Idaho student and charged with first-degree murder, first-degree murder, and the prosecutor, during jury deliberations, dropped his charges. And he pled guilty to a lesser charge. And the family was outraged at Bill Thompson and the prosecution office. So he has a history. And do we judge somebody by their history? Like, do we judge a prosecutor or a police officer or anyone in profession by their track record? And can they change over time and evolve over time? Anyone, for anything. Like, just because you've done something in the past doesn't mean you'll do the same thing now. I ultimately think he's going to seek the DP against these victims' families. But here's the case. Here's the case. I'm going to show you this case. This is interesting. Here we go. So this case happened in 1996, 1995. Killer of UI student, University of Idaho student, wife gets 65-year term, DP not an option for second-degree murder charge. And I'm going to read this article. So I'm going to sit here and read this article to you because it's interesting. It's interesting. When Kylie was sentenced Tuesday to at least 65 years in prison for the stabbing, DEATH, of a fellow Chinese graduate student and his wife. The term ordered by 2nd District Judge Leggett is a mandatory minimum that Lee will serve for the May 29, 1995 slaying. So these were stabbings. These were stabbings. Another individual stabbed a University of Idaho student. When I say stabbings, because this case is kind of the same thing, a stabbing, right? University of Idaho students. When Kylie, he was 26 years old, who was also studying at Idaho, faced a maximum sentence of 2 consecutive life prison terms and a 15-year enhancement for using a deadly weapon. He pled guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder on June 26 in an agreement with prosecutors. Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson said he was satisfied with the sentence ordered by Leggett because Lee will not be eligible for parole until he is 91. So Bill Thompson prosecuted a case where a guy stabbed another University of Idaho student and his wife, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of murder, people, first-degree murder. And right before this guy was scheduled to go on trial, Bill Thompson worked the deal out with this guy, and instead of life in prison for 2 counts of first-degree murder, he got it reduced to second-degree murder and gets a 65-year sentence. I made a video yesterday saying, actually today, charges reduced. Will Bryan Kohberger get his charges reduced? And everyone, like, I was reading the comment, and most people was like, no. Hey, it happened in this particular case. Almost the same kind of similar circumstances in a sense. A man stabs a University of Idaho student and his wife, gets charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, and Bill Thompson, before he scheduled a trial, first off, he didn't even seek the DP against him, and then right before trial, he makes a plea deal, and he pleads down to second degree and gets a number, where Bill Thompson, and every case is unique. Very good point, Azor. Every case is like a snowflake. Every case is like a snowflake. But he makes a deal with this person. He makes a deal with this guy, when Kylie, and instead of getting what he would have most likely got as a conviction, life in prison, he gets a number. He gets a number. He gets a number sentence. Yeah, most likely he'll be in prison the rest of his life till he's 91, but there's a chance he could get out. And that's a very strong possibility with the Bryan Kohberger case. You know, when it comes, push comes to shove, down the line, Kohberger could plea out, or the prosecutor, who I believe is on the verge of retiring. It might. Somebody put a good point, and I looked into this. This prosecutor is up for re-election next year, I believe, 2024. He will be 67. I truly doubt that this will be. There's a lot of factors that come into play here. I truly doubt that this prosecutor will seek re-election at 67 years old, when most of the time prosecutors and lawyers usually retire between that 65, 70-year-old age. My question is, if this case gets extended past October 2nd and gets delayed, which most people feel like it will, people don't feel like this case is going to be prosecuted in October. What happens if this case gets pushed past re-election for Bill Thompson? Does that mean he'll drop off the case, or will he stay on, seek re-election for the sole purpose of prosecuting this case? But anyway, let's go back to Lee. So the prosecutor was satisfied with this plea because he won't be eligible for parole to 91 years old. The sentence was ordered at the end of the 2-day hearing in which Lee testified that he cleaned up the crime scene because he feared his life would be over if he was convicted. He also tearfully testified that he had made a mistake. Ning Lee, no relation to Wen Kai Lee, was stabbed 28 times. Stabbed 28 times, and his wife 10 times. The autopsy showed their spinal columns were severed. So this guy, Wen Kai Lee, stabbed another University of Idaho student and his wife, stabbed the student, Wen Kai Lee, or Ning Lee, non-relation. These were Chinese nationals. 28 times, people. 28 times. And his wife 10 times. Stabbed them. And instead of getting a life sentence in first-degree murder, prosecutor Bill Thompson lowered their charges. Will that happen in the Bryan Kohberger case? I don't know. But here's the thing. And now let's keep going on. The prosecutor said Ning Lang was stabbed first and his wife was slain after she entered a room of their house to find Wen Qi with the body of her husband. She was slain because she was the only witness. So basically, he was going after he, and the wife was collateral damage. That's what it seems like. Wen Qi Lee got into a fight with Ning Lee over rumors about Wing Lee's girlfriend. So it was something about, the wife and the girlfriend. It was just kind of like a love triangle, possibly. But here's the thing. I'm going to show you this. Look at this. Look at this. And this is why I'm a little concerned here with the victims' families in the Moscow, Idaho case. Families are up in arms over deal in Idaho slangs. The families of 2 Chinese nationals are outraged by a deal that would spare the life of the man who admitted to killing them. We are extremely upset and dissatisfied with the plea bargain. Young Zhang Li of Maryland wrote in a letter obtained by the Moscow Pullman Daily News. The charges of second-degree murder are designed to end the trial quickly, even though they betray the truth. The letter asked Second Judicial District Judge Rudolph Leggett be notified of the family's dismay. It is even less faithful to justice than the previous bargain attempt. Wow. So right here, Ning Lee and his wife, ZG, were stabbed to death in their Moscow apartment 13 months ago. Former University of Idaho student Wen Kai Lee, no relation, pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree MUR-DER on Thursday. Young said his family would come to Moscow next month to make their last appeal for prosecutors to change their minds. So this family, the victim's family, who are from Maryland, planned to go out, and I don't know if they actually did, but go out to Moscow to try to get Bill Thompson to change his mind about the plea bargain. Nobody can accept this. How can they tell this news to their parents? Lake Tahoe County Prosecutor William Thompson said changing the first-degree murder charge to second-degree murder accomplishes the initial sentencing goal without the risk or expense of going to trial. That's what he said. Prosecutor Bill Thompson said changing the first-degree murder charge to second-degree murder charge accomplishes the initial sentencing goal without the risk or expense of going to trial. This is the prosecutor. This is the victim's family that were upset with the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, for not pursuing first-degree murder charges on this guy. Instead, the prosecutor worked the deal out with this guy right before trial to get this guy's charge reduced. So for people to say that, hey, the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, he'll listen to the victims' families. He'll listen to them. He'll listen to their input. That's not true. He didn't do it in this particular case, according to this victim's family. This victim's family claims they're outraged that a deal was made right before this guy was scheduled to go to trial. This guy should have got life in prison. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. When Kai Lee stabbed another person inside a home 28 times, his wife 10 times, that's clearly first-degree murder. That's not second-degree murder. That's first-degree murder. Guy would have got life easy. But the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, at the last second, works a deal out. Come on now. Hopefully, Bill Thompson, if you are in support of the DP, some people aren't in support of the DP, and that's good. That's your own personal belief. But if you're in support of the DP, I personally am. Hopefully, he used that as a learning experience as a prosecutor to maybe listen to the families more. Listen to the family's input more, because this family, and this was the sole victim's family, they wanted ultimate punishment. They probably even wanted the DP. The DP wasn't even on the table with this guy's case. Do you think that's a DP worthy case? If you're in a, does that fit the aggravating circumstances of a DP? Usually there has to be aggravating circumstances. Another man went into another guy's apartment in Moscow, in Lake Tahoe County, and stabbed him 28 times, and stabbed his wife 10 times, killed them, and the prosecutor doesn't seek the DP. Guy's ready to go on trial, and the prosecutor goes, hey, let's make a deal. Why was he trying to make a deal with him at the last second? Was the prosecutor afraid that stuff would get out on the record? And that's what people are kind of saying with the Moscow, Idaho case in reference to the grand jury and not having a preliminary hearing. There is people out there saying, what is the prosecution trying to hide? What is the police trying to hide? Why aren't they releasing certain discovery that Ann Taylor is seeking? Genealogy, DNA stuff, records, body cam. So I don't think this is a clear cut. And even if we hear within July 22nd, where he has up to making that decision, it's not guaranteed. Even though that he says he's going to seek the DP, eventually that DP he could go down the line and say, well, work a deal out and not have the DP. But I don't think there should. I would be satisfied with the life with Bryan Kohberger, but I hope the prosecutor doesn't even lower it even more and say, oh yeah, we'll plead guilty to prevent a trial, a long, costly trial, and having all these people testify, and for the interest of judicial economy, we'll work a deal out where you get a number sentence. 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, and then things. And then, we know you're 20, because this guy was 26 years old, this Wen Ko Lee, similar to Bryan Kohberger's age. He's guaranteed to be in jail till at least 91. He's never going to get out. But he still has a number. What happens if he lives to 91? What happens if Wen Kai Lee lives to 91? He walks. So what happens if Bryan Kohberger has the same type of thing? Oh, yeah, a sentence like 60 years or 70 years or something like that. It's always that possibility at the end of Bryan Kohberger's life that he could live it all the way through. Or, down the line, prison criminal justice reforms and different things in different states saying, oh, yeah, instead of serving 85% of your time, it might have to be 65% of the time. Who knows in the next 10, 20 years if it goes down to 50% of your time you have to serve before you're eligible for parole. Or down, eventually, might say a quarter of your time. It keeps going lower. It does keep going lower. But at the same time, some of the violent things are the provisions. If you do something to a child or violent, it actually goes up and says you have to serve almost all your time. So it kind of goes both ways. Does go higher, does go lower. So let's not be naive, people, to think that, hey, even if Bryan Kohberger, they're seeking the DP or, going through, nothing is final. Nothing. The point of this video is to show that the prosecutor has done this before and betrayed a victim's, I'll call it betrayal in their minds, because I think the victims have huge rights and have a lot of say. And if the victim's family wants something, I think the prosecutor is bound to do that. Now, why he chose to make a deal with this guy, I don't know. Every case is unique. Every case has its own circumstances. Evidence is different every case. Maybe evaluated the whole totality of the situation. But the guy was ready to go on trial, and the prosecutor reduced his charge so he could plea out. Will that happen with the Bryan Kohberger case? For people that are just jumping on, review the beginning of this video. There has been a case where prosecutor reduced charges right before trial, a very horrific crime dealing with the same type of thing that Bryan Kohberger is accused of, stabbing somebody, and the prosecutor reduced his charges. Will that happen in this case? I think there's a huge pressure on this prosecutor to get something, get this right, get it done. All right, guys, sharing that information. I gotta go about my business. Review this video, share, like, hit the notification button. This is called shepherdizing cases, going through old cases that this prosecutor has prosecuted. I want to see his record. I want to see what's who he did before and what these outcomes were of these cases that he's handled. This is an older prosecutor, seasoned, veteran, experienced, been around since 1992, had prior practice of 12 years of prior practice. I also did a video about the prior judges in Lake Tahoe County, and some of these cases too, there's different judges that sentence these people that are not the elected judge in Lake Tahoe County. So I don't understand how they come into play here. So I have to do a little more research on that. I'm doing the research, trying to understand how the process works in Lake Tahoe County. Because at the end of the day, going to trial, this is going to be like the trial of the century. So this prosecutor, with the help of the people around him, have to be on point. Because it's going to be show and prove. They're going to have to be. They can't botch this. So they're in a tough, unique situation. Are they ready to do that? If they really haven't had that experience like that on this type of grand scale, you'd think the easy way is to prevent a trial and try to get out of a trial, so you don't have to go through all that and maybe possibly embarrass yourself. You're now I'm saying that this guy is a prosecutor for since 1992, but he's not a city prosecutor where violent crime comes all the time and he's trying cases all the time on like some big cases. Like he might get a case every 8 years or 9 years. He might get a case that's really bad. But do you really have the experience, or are you really a good trial prosecutor? There's paper prosecutors that are good on paper and good at negotiating deals, preventing trials, and there's also trial prosecutors that are good at trial. Also, I was thinking, even him being the lead prosecutor, he could have his number 2 or number 3, like Ashley Jennings and the other 2 people. I guess his name is Nye, and the other one do a lot of the talking at trial, and he just sit there. That could be the case too. Don't know yet. Like Alec Murdoch, Creighton was there, but some of his deputies and everything, like, they did a lot of the cross. Same thing. Wonder what he looked like in 1992. JLR, can you find a picture? Great question, Newman25. I'll look. I don't know. I'm sure he had a beard. It looks like the culture up there. Culture beard. I've seen some interviews from him, the prosecutor. He seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like very, like, just chill. Like a chill type. The whole atmosphere up there in Moscow is just like chill. It's like you're up there in the Swiss Alps. Chill. Relax. Have some tea. Look at the flowers. Pretty peaceful up there. It really is peaceful. It's a culture up there. It's a way of life. I was actually impressed. I don't, if I wanted to ever get out of Florida, I would consider going to Idaho. I really would. I was like up there numerous times. I'm like, it's beautiful up here. It's seasonal. There is snow. I like snow a little bit. Rolling hills, trees. It's nice. I'd either choose there, or I would choose the Appalachian Mountains, maybe Colorado, or the coastline of South Carolina. Those would be my choices. But we'll talk soon, everyone. Be safe. I just wanted to share this information. Dissect it yourself. Let me know what you think. I'll be reading the comments. We'll talk soon. Happy Memorial Day, everyone. Working on Memorial Day, picking out part cases, doing some lives, following this case extensively. Not like superficial, reporting on this case. Actually looking in. I think my videos speak for themselves, Got hundreds and hundreds of videos on this. Man, I might have 1,000 videos now on this case. I really do. I might have 1,000 videos. I got like 1,300 videos on this channel. This channel's only been around since August. I've had the channel, I just never used it for videos. I had the channel for a while, but I just started posting videos on this channel like in August. I was doing other cases before the Moscow, Idaho case, doing the Summer Wells case, the Richard Allen Delphi case, Michael Vaughn case. But this case is like, for me, it's like following this case all the way through. I'll be there all the way to the end, people. Giving insight and input. People might have a whole different perspective on things. That's why you view people that have been covering this case good, and you hear them and listen to different people's points of views on things. Hopefully I provided something to the table. I'm not always correct with everything. Try my best. It's going through what I'm thinking. Also going through, what I've seen when I've been in the criminal justice system. I've been through this process before, so I do know a little bit about law. Do know about briefs and motions and court filings. I can analyze them and understand it pretty good. Know the direction and the judicial process. I'm fascinated with it. So, talk to you guys soon. God bless. Will the prosecutor seek the DP or not? Remains to be seen. Have a great day. Happy Memorial Day. Be safe, everyone.